Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Dirndl Journal. My name is Nina, and I'm a future Disney Cultural Representative Program participant for Germany. And today in this video, I would like to give you an overview of the application process, the selection process, and also give you a few tips if you're planning to apply for the Cultural Representative Program for Germany or any other country. Having said that, being accepted in the Cultural Representative Program for Germany is, from what I hear, quite a bit easier than it is for many other countries, mainly the English-speaking countries like the UK and Canada. In those countries, there are a few more steps in the process, and there are also a lot more applicants. In Germany, it is much easier. So maybe this is a good thing off the bat for you if you're thinking about participating in the program, applying for the program. You have quite a good chance to actually get accepted. Disney is doing 2 cycles per year of applicants, and the last one has just finished now in April. So I hear mine has finished in November. For me, I sent in my application sometime in the summer last year, and then it took me quite a while to hear back from Disney. I only heard back from them in November, and they invited me to an interview for the next week. It was all very last minute. So I had my interview in November, and I hear that the last round of interviews has just concluded. So I'm assuming the next round of interviews is going to be again in November as well. So how do you actually apply for the Cultural Representative Program? Let's start from the top. In order to apply, you apply like for any Disney job. You go to the jobs page, which is jobs.disneycareers.com, and you can search for Cultural Representative Program or even Germany, and you will find a list of jobs. You will see that this is basically covering all sorts of Disney jobs, but also the Cultural Representative Program. I assume they will be reopening applications in a few months, probably in the summer at the latest. Right now, the only Cultural Representative country that is open is Norway. So you can look through the job description. They will describe what you need to be doing, what you will be doing, and they also they show you the pay, which is $17 per hour, and they also show you the requirements. And as you can see, there are not many. Basically, the only requirements are you need to speak decent English, you need to be more than 18 years old, and you need to be able to represent your country. And that is pretty much it. You really don't need any food and beverage or merchandise experience in order to do this job. In order to apply, if you already have a LinkedIn account, you can log in to the Disney recruiting page with your LinkedIn account. And once you've filled out everything, you upload your CV, and you will also write a cover letter. The cover letter is not optional. Disney requires you to write a cover letter. So how to write a good cover letter for Disney? Job experience is really not the crucial point here. If you have relevant experience in food and beverage, in waiting tables, in working in a retail store, then by all means, write that down. But I think Disney is way more interested in learning who you are. I know writing a cover letter for a company like Disney, which is like the epitome of storytelling, can be intimidating, but they really want to know you. They want to know why you want to do this job. They want to know what Disney means for you. You can share some experience you have yourself in the parks, maybe visiting the parks, maybe Disneyland Paris if you're from Europe. Maybe you haven't been to the US yet, or to Asia, but maybe you've been to Disneyland Paris. Share some examples, maybe some stories, some memories, maybe even with a cast member, and share why you can also and want to represent your culture. And those are really the only things that Disney is interested in, as well as seeing that you can write a text in English. I would expect that your English doesn't need to be 100% perfect. I don't want to give false advice, but I could imagine you are employed as a cultural representative. They know you English is not your first language, most likely. And then you send in your application, and then begins the waiting. Like I said, it took multiple months for me to hear back from them, and that is normal. So, depending on when you applied in this cycle, like I said, usually interviews are being held in the spring and in the fall. you may wait multiple months, and that doesn't mean that you're rejected. They're collecting applicants and they're taking their time to review your application. Then, when you hear from them, the next step will already be an in-person interview. You also need to provide a bit of information for Disney in their documentation portal docs. You will receive all the instructions via email, but one thing that you need to provide is your passport number. So this is important to know. In order to apply for the cultural representative program, you will already need a passport. In Germany, that is not something that everybody necessarily has, the classical Reisepass. It's not enough if you go through the application process and you wait until you hopefully get accepted and then apply for a passport. You will already need a passport to even start the process. You also have to indicate which role you want to be doing. This is something that I explained in my last video. I explained the differences between the merchandising and the food and beverage role, and you will get a little form where you have to click how much you want to be working in which role. So that's a chance for you to indicate what is your preference. So you will get an email from Disney saying, congratulations, you have advanced to the next round, which is an in-person interview, which is likely going to be in Frankfurt. You click on a link and you can book an interview slot. And usually they're first come, first serve. In other countries, there are other steps in between still. Like I said, UK, Canada, for example, those countries will have multiple interview steps, like a phone pre-screening interview that goes before the personal interview, because they do have a lot of applicants and they do need to make pre-selections. But in Germany, usually there are not that many applicants. So the next step after you send in your application will already be an in-person interview in Frankfurt. You will have to pay the trip yourself. So you will have to make sure that you get to Frankfurt in time and that you can be there for the whole day, or at least until after your interview slot. And then the day will start with a presentation, which is a short video, about 15 minutes, I think it was, 15, 20 minutes, explaining how the program works, how much you earn, how many hours you work, what about the accommodation, where will you live, how much is the rent, etc., etc. A few things about the visa, how that will work, etc., etc. And afterwards, there's a little quiz, which is just for kind of lightening up the conversation. So it's not just one person, talking to you for 30 minutes, explaining you things, but to make sure you're paying attention and to make sure it's a little more entertaining than just having a presentation, and to kind of sprinkle in a few questions about Disney World. And the great thing is, you can actually win a pen if you're fast and if you answer your question correctly, and maybe even if you answer your question incorrectly, I'm not quite sure. They're not super difficult, so I think you can answer them correctly. You can win a pen, and I won this awesome Disney International Programs pen. The presentation part starts at 9 a.m. and you will need to be there at 9 a.m. You will need to be there ideally even safely before 9 a.m. So this is something for you if you're in Germany. And if you need to take the train, if you're from Germany, you will know that we all love our Deutsche Bahn and we love our train system, but you also know that it's extremely unreliable. So I would recommend you, unless you really live in the area of Frankfurt, to already travel a day in advance and to spend the night to make sure you're rested. You don't have to stress about your train being late, about missing your connecting train, about being stuck in traffic if you come by car, whatever it is. If you have the money to spend the night, I think that is always something I would recommend. Then you can be sure that you're there in time for your interview, because that is really the number one thing that you need to show on this interview day, the fact that you can be on time somewhere, anywhere. This is my number one tip. Be on time. Ideally, be there about 15, maybe 20 minutes in advance. The recruiters will be there, they will check you in, they will look at your passport, and they will notice when you arrive. Try to be there well in advance. That definitely shows that you're serious about it, that you're able to plan ahead, And it also gives you the opportunity to mingle with other participants and other applicants. And that would be my number 2 tip: mingle. When you come in, when you walk in the door, how it was for me was I arrived at the interview venue. It was a hotel in Frankfurt. And I walked up to I think it was like on the first floor or so, and there was already one of the recruiters waiting there, greeting me, very friendly. Um, and then I walked into the room where there was going to be the presentation, and there were already some other people there waiting. And that's the thing: these people you will very likely see again. These people will very likely be your colleagues. You will be working with them. So these are definitely people you will want to get to know. Plus, you will want to show the recruiters who are in the room there with you, probably watching you to some extent, you want to show them that you are a sociable person, that you are intrigued, that you are interested in meeting new people, that you are interested in sharing things about yourself, because that's exactly the job they're hiring you for. So, by all means, even if you're an introverted person, and I know it takes some courage at first, but just if there's a group already chatting, go there, sit down, and start chatting with people. That shows that you are exactly what they're looking for. Because the main thing that was said again and again is they want someone who is easy to talk to, someone who is easily picking up a conversation, who is easily engaging guests, talking about Germany, talking about themselves, their life in Germany, and answering their questions, someone who guests feel they can approach. And I have to say, it wasn't until after this day and after I met everybody and I hung out with my little group there all day that I got really excited about doing this program. It was so nice and it was such a nice experience, and we all bonded so quickly. So, what we did basically, everybody who still had a few hours between the presentation and their interview, we just left the hotel and we went for a coffee to just pass the time and chat and get to know each other and kind of prepare each other for the interview. Another thing that we did, which is also really, really helpful, is if you already start a WhatsApp group to kind of answer all the questions that you have. And if you're really lucky, there will be people who have done the program before, and that is even better because you can ask them everything you want to know. Then I would recommend you to be back at the venue, at the hotel, about an hour before your interview slot, because usually they're a bit faster. And how it works basically, there were 3 recruiters who each were interviewing a group of people, and they would be called one by one into a room, and then you're just sitting down at a desk in front of the person who is extremely friendly because they're Disney people, right? I think the most important tip for nailing your interview is smile. Always smile. Smile is the most important thing. I know it doesn't come very naturally to most Germans. In my videos here, I always have to remind myself to look friendly because I tend to have a very stern, serious face when I'm talking and explaining things. But I have to remind myself to smile because this is what you will be doing on the job. It is mostly about smiling. They will get back to your role preference that you indicated in that form, and they will again ask you what is your preferred role. And I would recommend you to really be honest. If there's really a role that you heavily prefer over the other, tell them. There's no need in being, appearing super flexible and saying, I don't care, I would love to do everything, when in reality that's not the case, and then they put you in the role that you didn't want, and then you're just going to be a little unhappy if you have a preference. I think many people also don't really have a preference, but I had a preference. I had a preference for merchandise, and that's what I said. They will also want to know when is your earliest availability. That is really important for them to make their schedule and to know from when they can plan with you. And again, be honest. Don't say I'm available right away in order to ideally increase your chances of being hired or whatever, when this is not the case. If you're already in an employment, then you will have likely a certain notice period to hand in your resignation. If you're still in university, you will likely have to finish a semester or classes or exams or whatever. If you're still in school, you have to graduate. So be specific about when you are available, And also, until when? Maybe they ask about your previous experience. They didn't ask me because I didn't have any previous experience. Really, of course, they were quite interested about why in my position and with my career background, I was now, and at my age, I was now making this move, why I wanted to do this. But I told them that I had always admired the Disney company and how and how the Disney company regards customer service and the customer experience, and that is actually something that I think, even in my profession, that will help me and that I can make use of later on in my professional life, and that I would really love to learn how Disney is managing to create this magical customer experience that I personally have come to love in the Disney parks. They were asking me to tell them something about Germany. This is a question that maybe you can prepare for. They might ask, "What can you tell me about Germany?" Because you're a cultural representative for Germany. And I told them that that actually the Disney Castle, Cinderella Castle, Sleeping Beauty Castle, were initially inspired by Schloss Neuschwanstein in Bavaria. And also that, of course, Germany is the OG country for all fairy tales. The most famous fairy tales in the world are from Germany, from the Brothers Grimm, like Snow White, like Sleeping Beauty. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, of course, was the OG animated feature film that started everything. And Snow White's home is the Germany Pavilion. In Epcot, you will find Snow White, the character, sitting at the fountain and for a character meet and greet and signing autographs and so on and so forth. You may also get asked how you feel about working in the Florida heat, working in a hurricane season, lifting heavy boxes, kegs, whatever, depending on your role. There might also be some physical components to that. So my impression was they are more interested in making sure you understand what the job entails than them really doubting you that you can do the job. Ultimately, it was a really, really, really pleasant conversation. That's what everybody said. Everybody said it was so nice. It doesn't really feel like a job interview because, like I said, it isn't really in the sense that there's one job and you're up with 100 other people and you need to stand out and you need to be the best one. No, it's rather like they have 100 jobs, they may have 100 people, and they just want to make sure they don't hire anybody who's like absolutely not fit to do the job. They're not trying to find a needle in a haystack and are going to be super duper strict. They just want to make sure, are you fit to do the program? Is your English good enough? Can you understand them? Can they understand you? As long as you're a pleasant person to talk to, you don't seem too shy, you are friendly, you smile, you seem eager to talk about yourself, and you seem interested in the other person. That is really it. Everything else you will learn on the job, and I think Disney knows that. And then after 10-15 minutes max, probably your interview is already over, and then you're free to leave. Your day is done, and then you wait for the reply from Disney, whether they accepted you or not. And I will talk about that in one of my next videos. Stay tuned. And thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful to you if you're already in your application process, or if you're thinking about applying, to kind of get a bit of an idea what to expect and to take your nerves away a little bit maybe and put you at ease. This is really supposed to be a fun experience no matter what happens after. It is not supposed to be stressful. It's really supposed to be a pleasant experience either way, and it definitely was for me. So thank you very much for watching. I hope I'll see you soon, and have a nice day. Bye bye.